Exactly what they want right here. They want me to bid it. Wait a minute. I'll hang it up. I'm saying retired and shit. Baby, man.
Do you look forward to the battle, though, with Alexander? Y'all have got a little bit of a history. Y'all have gone toe-to-toe. Do you look forward to competing with him?
I could say yeah, but it's no different than I approach any other week. I'm not going out there trying to prove nothing. I ain't trying to prove each and every other week, every play, every day. Try to earn it during the week in practice. Get on the same page as my quarterback. I don't really get into all that extra shit.
Did anyone ask you about the incentive?
Nah, but we got a couple extra dollars.
You like a couple extra dollars?
What y'all want for the holidays? Kidding. Thank y'all so much. Yeah. I ain't gonna say I wasn't. So things kind of happen fast. This game happened fast, even though it's a longer game than usual. But we couldn't get things rolling. It's not on one person. Everybody played a part, so I was definitely surprised. But
I ain't give. I be talking to y'all like we friends. I didn't care about that, sir. I wasn't thinking about them winning 4 games. That didn't have nothing to do with it. I wanted to go somewhere where I was going to be in a good situation. I had some experience being in the league. I wanted to have a good head coach. I wanted to have a good OC. And I knew that they were going to have a good defense.
Nobody expected this case to flip like this. What started as a serious courtroom battle suddenly took a turn the moment one sentence hit the room, and everything changed. Because this wasn't just about accusations anymore. It wasn't just about what allegedly happened behind closed doors. Now, it's about secrets, relationships, and a situation that feels way more complicated than anyone first thought. And once you hear how all the pieces connect, it starts to raise a lot of questions. This entire situation goes back to one night. An argument, a disagreement, and then accusations that would push everything into the spotlight. According to claims, things escalated during a dispute over unpaid money. What started as a conversation allegedly turned physical, with serious details being brought forward about what happened in that moment. But from the very beginning, there's been a major divide. On one side, you have a story describing a situation that crossed the line. On the other side, a complete denial. No witnesses, no visible proof, no medical reports. Nothing that clearly confirms what's being claimed. And that's where things immediately get complicated. Because when 2 completely different versions of events exist, it turns into a battle of credibility. But even with all of that, none of it shocked people as much as what came next. Because the courtroom didn't just hear about an incident, it heard about a relationship no one expected to be confirmed. Right there, under oath, everything shifted. Because it was finally said out loud. This wasn't just a professional connection. It wasn't just a chef working for a client. It was something more personal. Something that had been kept quiet until now. According to testimony, the relationship didn't even start with the job. It started earlier. Messages, conversations, a connection that slowly blurred the line between casual and something deeper. At first, it seemed simple. Just 2 people talking. But then it evolved. From friendly to personal to something that became hard to define, even described as complicated. And once that word entered the conversation, it changed how everything else was viewed. Because now, this isn't just about an employer and employee, it's about 2 people who were already involved before any job offer ever happened. And that's where things start getting messy. Not long after, the situation took another step. A job offer was made. But this wasn't just any job. This meant moving in, living in the same space, daily interactions, constant access, and on paper, it looked like a great opportunity. High weekly pay, a private role, close proximity to someone with status and influence. But when you combine that with a personal relationship, the lines start to blur fast, because now it's no longer clear where business ends and where personal begins. Expectations shift, emotions get involved, and situations that should be simple suddenly become layered. That kind of dynamic can create tension without anyone even realizing it at first. And while that alone raises questions, it's not even the part that got people talking the most. Because once another name entered the picture, everything changed. This is where things took a turn nobody could ignore. Because there was another connection happening at the same time. A public one. While all of this was going on privately, there was also a very visible relationship in the spotlight. And what made it even more surprising, was how close everyone seemed on the surface. Friendly conversations, daily communication, plans being made together, at one point even coordinating outfits for a major event. But behind that, a completely different reality was unfolding. And that contrast is what really caught people off guard, because from the outside, everything looked normal. But underneath, there were layers no one knew about. And once that detail came out in court, it shifted how people saw everything. Not just the situation, but everyone involved in it. Of course, not everyone is accepting this version of events. From the other side, the response has been clear from day one. None of this happened. That's the stance. And it hasn't changed. The argument is built around one key point. Where's the proof? No physical evidence, no witnesses stepping forward, no documentation supporting the claims. And then there's another layer added on top of that. The idea that this situation may have been pushed for financial reasons, with mentions of attempted negotiations before things ever reached this point. Which raises its own question: is this about truth or something else? Because in cases like this, perception matters just as much as facts. And right now, both sides are trying to control that narrative. But the courtroom isn't built on narratives. It's built on what can actually be proven. And that's where everything starts to get real. Now that this case has officially reached trial, everything changes. Because this is no longer about speculation. It's about testimony, evidence, cross-examination. This is where stories get tested, where timelines are challenged, and where details that didn't seem important before suddenly become the focus. Even the structure of the trial itself is different. A smaller jury, faster pace, less room for drawn-out arguments, which means every statement matters even more. And the stakes? They couldn't be higher, because this doesn't just impact one moment, it impacts everything moving forward. Career decisions, public image, future opportunities. Once something like this enters a courtroom, it doesn't just disappear, it stays. And right now, everyone is watching to see what holds up and what doesn't. But even with everything being said, there are still questions that haven't been answered. As more details come out, people are starting to look at the bigger picture. Not just this one situation, but whether there's a pattern behind it. There have been mentions of similar dynamics before. Other individuals, other situations that sound a little too familiar. Now, to be clear, these are still just claims and conversations. Nothing has officially been proven in that regard, and in situations this serious, that distinction matters. Because online speculation and courtroom evidence are two completely different things. People can say a lot publicly. Rumors can spread fast. But at the end of the day, the legal system works off proof, testimony, timelines, and facts that can actually hold up under scrutiny. Still, once multiple stories start lining up in similar ways, people naturally begin paying closer attention. Because then it stops feeling like a random accusation or a one-time misunderstanding. It starts creating the impression that there could be something much bigger happening behind the scenes. And whether that ultimately turns out to be true or not, that's exactly what this trial is meant to uncover. Right now, the story is still unfolding in real time. And honestly, that's what makes the entire situation feel so unpredictable. Because we're nowhere near the end of it yet. More witnesses could speak. More testimony is expected. More private details may eventually become public. And with every new piece of information that surfaces, the narrative around this case could completely shift again. That's the part people keep forgetting. Public opinion changes fast. One day, everyone thinks they understand the full story. And then one new revelation changes the conversation overnight. And cases like this are rarely simple. There are always layers the public doesn't see immediately. There are behind-the-scenes conversations, legal strategies, conflicting accounts, and details that only come out once people are under oath. At the end of the day, this isn't just about internet theories or viral headlines. It's about what can actually be verified and proven in court. Because speculation may drive attention online, but evidence is what ultimately decides outcomes. And until more facts officially come forward, a lot of the discussion surrounding the situation will remain exactly that, speculation. But one thing does seem certain. Whatever comes out next is probably going to change the way this entire story is viewed. because the deeper this situation goes, the more people realize there may be far more to it than they originally thought. So now the real question is, when everything is finally laid out in court, what will the full picture actually look like? What's actually going to hold up? And what's going to fall apart? Because right now, there are still a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of claims, a lot of speculation, and a lot of people trying to piece together what's really happening behind the scenes. But eventually, the noise fades, and what remains are the facts that can actually be proven. That's the part that's going to determine how this entire situation is remembered moving forward, because depending on what comes out next, public opinion could shift completely. So we'll have to wait and see how this story unfolds. But I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think more shocking details are still coming out? Or do you think the internet is reading too deeply into everything happening right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any future updates on this story and everything happening around it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.